Thank you guys all so much for logging in and sharing your time with us today. Please do hit the like or the celebrate button down below. And also tell me where you're watching from. If you're watching from somewhere in the US or from somewhere abroad, we'd love to hear from you. I am very excited to introduce today's special guest. His name is Donald Sonck. He is the Director of National Workforce Solutions for Professional and Industrial at Kelly.
Hello, everybody.
Oh my God. Okay, just making
Leah,
sure the audio works.
Thanks for the intro. Beautiful.
So Don has over 35 years in a professional career. He has worked in the field of talent solutions on both sides of the equation, creating hiring platforms as a general manager and regional VP of operations, as well as selling hiring solutions to clients with firms such as Kelly. He is currently responsible for the development and enterprise-wide workforce recruitment solutions, primarily within the industrial and manufacturing business sectors. And Don comes to us today from sunny Southern California. So welcome, Don. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure to be here, Leah. Excited to chat with you, your audience, and take on any questions and just talk in general terms on all things talent.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think that we are live. It's a little bit of a delay, so I just wanted to let you know that. I do see that Joanna, thank you for letting us know that you can hear us and see us and welcoming us to the show today. So I am so glad that you are here today. And what I wanted to start off with is I did this last week on my show with Lisa Taylor from Connexus MedStaff. And I really believe that it helped us maintain like this very positive frame of mind throughout our conversation. So I'm making an effort, both personally and professionally, to resist my overt instincts towards negativity and self-deprecation. So we have plenty of sadness, heaviness, negativity, happening all around us. And I want us to intentionally focus on solutions, reframing issues, and approaching this conversation in an uplifting mindset. So with that being said, Don, I want to know what have been your biggest wins this year, both professionally and personally?
Well, let me first take a step back, Leah, in terms of keeping everything positive. That's why I did wear this colorful shirt. I wanted this also to be an uplifting thing, and the holidays are coming, and let's keep it in a festive type of mood. But to answer your question, I think there have been a number of things. If I were to talk personally first,
okay,
it's been, I guess they're kind of tied together. Personal, professionally, you learn a lot about yourself when you're coming into a new year. I know I always take January 1 and the first week or so to kind of reflect back on what happened the previous year, both personally and professionally. What have I achieved? What has my family achieved? And then start looking forward to the year up ahead. And both personally and professionally, had a lot of really, goals that I had set that I thought were very reachable and very exciting. And then, of course, something called the novel coronavirus hit, and all those things kind of took a step back. So as disappointing as that was, I from a personal standpoint, the word that keeps coming to mind to me is resiliency and persevering. Mm-hmm. Between family things that were going on in terms of adjusting. When my wife and I have a couple of boys that are in college, so they've had to adjust. We've had to adjust. Fortunately, we both work remote anyway, so that wasn't as big an adjustment. But it was obviously for a lot of family, a lot of friends, in a number of ways on the personal side. On the professional side, again, same type of thing. There were some goals that were set. I had a lot of things in play. And obviously, a lot of them have been set back on a back burner, for lack of a better term. But on the other hand,
right.
The word that comes to mind professionally is pivot. And I think a lot of us have done that in our professional lives. Now, we've had to pivot from maybe one particular aspect of our job that was the primary focus, and now we've had to turn and maybe perhaps adjust differently. Or in order to do our job, we've had to work differently because we might be remote. We might have new roles and responsibilities. Certainly communication's a little bit different if you weren't in an office environment and now you're not. Zoom is a godsend obviously to everyone in terms of being able to communicate and network. So I think the good Lord for all of that, but I think it's just really being able to adjust are the two biggest things for me both personally and professionally, and still everybody keeping a smile on our faces. We're still healthy, happy, and the outlook is still very, very positive.
That's wonderful. I'm very glad that we started with that question, and congratulations on your wins this year. To start off, can you tell us a little bit more about the type of recruiting that you currently do at Kelly Services, or is it just Kelly now?
We pretty much go just by Kelly now. We've had a little bit of a rebranding, but not to pontificate too much about Kelly itself, but within our realm and in mine particular, it's a good initial discussion point, I think, because right now in the environment that we're in, and with the holiday season coming up, certainly there is a mad rush and probably more of a demand than there is a supply right now for professionals in, let's say, distribution, logistics, warehouse, etc. And between those types of industries right now, the supply is somewhat dented for some of the reasons that we just touched upon earlier, right? You've got 2-income families now where kids are now at home. Most of them are homeschooling.
Right.
Maybe one or both parents might be furloughed at this particular time. Between the unemployment benefits that are out there and folks just kind of taking a step back because of the virus, they're a little reluctant to get back into the working world. So
Right.
I know in general, those are jobs right now that are very much in demand. The pay rates for them have never been higher, whether you're in a temporary role or in a direct hire role. And certainly that will run through the holidays and I think well into first quarter as well, as this continues on. So, anything that's service related, anything in terms of consumer goods and essential services, they're just hot right now. There's great opportunity.
Right. They very much are. I agree with you completely. I've seen so many, especially for the manufacturing industry, it is just taking off. And I don't know if that has to do with the changes that we're having in import and export, but I have really noticed an uptick in those areas in that industry. So hello, everyone that's logged in. I can see that there's a bunch of people here. I just don't know who you are. You have to let us know who you are and where you're logging in from by dropping that into the comments, hitting like, and then I can see who you are if you want to. I'd love it. Any questions that I asked Dawn today, please feel free to answer from your own perspective because we really want this to be an open conversation. I'm going to ask Dawn a lot of questions. Some of them are going to be more fun about him and his personality, and a lot of them are going to be about the future of talent acquisition and the future of recruiting. So Dawn, the next 2 questions I have for you have to do with those future job seekers, for those impending college grads or the new high school grads. What advice do you have for high school grads first?
Well, first, as it relates to high school, the best advice I can give kids right now is to really keep an open mind in terms of a profession. It's real difficult. I know when I was 17, 18 years old, I didn't really know what to do. Some kids are blessed in that they do, and they go right to college. They have a major, and they're on a rocket to stardom.
Right.
Most kids are not. So, I know the initial thought is, well, you should go to college, get a degree, etc. I would really suggest 2 things, and certainly that's primary. Everybody should get I'm a firm believer too. A great 4-year education is awesome.
Right.
But there's a couple other things that they should look at. Certainly, if you don't know really what you want to do yet, in terms of a major or a career, go to junior college. Junior college is a great opportunity to and very affordable, obviously, in any state. But to be able to look, it's really like menu driven, right? You can kind of go like, well, I don't know what I want to take.
Right, and to get those generals.
Yeah. And as far as those generals too, I would not be consumed either if I'm a high school grad and I'm thinking junior college. Don't be consumed on, oh my gosh, what's going to transfer?
Oh,
because if you still don't, well, it's differently. It's twofold. And I want to go back to your point as well. But the first piece is, if you don't really know what you want to do, career-wise, major-wise, then go through the menu of the types of classes. There's going to be some there that you will find attractive as a high school grad, whether it's a trade type of like a blueprint reading, computer science, plumbing, electrical, as well as your traditionals, your English, your math, etc. So taking a mix of those is good. There's a good chance that if you're there 2 years, something's going to click with you to where you say, this is the career or the major I want to go to. And now you start migrating that way towards a 4-year degree.
Right.
On the other hand, I'm sorry, I was just going to mention your point though as well, is that if you do have an idea in terms of what you want to major in, then yeah, junior college is still a great thing to do, because you can, if you know what 4-year school that you want to go to, find out from that JC what classes are transferable for that particular major, hone in on it, and bam, by the time you hit that 4-year school, you might have only 2 years left.
Yeah, no, I think I wanted to talk about this so much with you because so many people think that when you graduate, you have to go into college. And I think that this year, especially with the pandemic happening, with college campuses being closed, with a lot of learning going online, I think a lot of high school kids are going to get that opportunity where it's not abnormal, where it's more of the mainstream to go to those local junior colleges, get that education at a better cost. If you don't know what you want to do, go into a trade program. I know the junior colleges around here have amazing career path programs. They have, if you want to go into industrial, say welding or like automotive mechanic or automotive body repair. They have paramedic classes, medical assistant classes, x-ray tech. So that brings you into a actual career. You're getting an education with an actual career at the end right away. And I think that is going to change for a lot of people this year, which I'm really excited about. And I have a niece that's looking at that. She wanted to do the whole university college grad thing, and she realized that it's not going to work this year. So she's going to do junior college first. And I'm just really happy and proud of her for making that decision. It's not so against the grain now. But oh my gosh, we have a lot of people that logged in. I want to shout out to them because I love that you guys are spending your time with us today. I know that today might be pretty nerve-wracking or anxious for people, or you're just really excited and to be a part of the American system. So, oh my gosh, we have like Noel, thank you so much. Patty Witt, Rollis, of course, he's on as well. Michelle Perchal from Fort Lee, New Jersey, thank you. Valeria, Lotus, hi Lotus from Chicago. Takesha is here. Hi Takesha, thank you so much for joining us today. She's one of my former colleagues and I love her very much. And we have quite a few others and I missed some of them, but thank you guys so much for hopping on and listening to our conversation today. If you have any questions for this wonderful man, Don, who has 35 years of a professional career on both sides of talent solutions, he is a wealth of knowledge in the recruiting space, in managerial, talent acquisition, managerial space. Please pop your questions in. I will ask him. So thank you guys all so much for joining us. So Dawn, we were just talking about high school and college. Or do you have more information for college grads? Do you have different advice for college grads than you would for, well, obviously for high school grads?
Yeah, so a couple of things, Leah, if I can take a step back to the high school and just kind of put a period at the end of that discussion, is the other piece to college kids I would really recommend, high school, and you touched on that as well, is also trade schools. They're fantastic, and that dovetails into the college grad piece. I can tell you firsthand for a number of years now how many major companies, Fortune 500 companies, are dying, particularly in the manufacturing field, are dying for skilled tradesmen. Electrical, plumbing, computers, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, all of that. Because it's just, my father happened to be in that particular space when I was growing up, but I as much as I kind of emulated that, I just wasn't good with my hands.
You weren't mechanically inclined?
No. I can barely put in a screw with a screwdriver, but I manage. But those jobs are so in demand right now. They pay extremely well.
Yes, they really do.
And as we both have a deep background in healthcare as well. But like healthcare, like a nurse, those jobs are transferable. If you have that particular skill and you're certified, you can take that basically anywhere in the country and be very handsomely paid. So I always try to give kids that particular bit of advice as well, as to just say, look, if you like working outside, if you like working with your hands, if you like building and if you're like into puzzles and stuff, trade is a great way to go to get into.
I agree completely. Yeah. So speaking of high school and college, what I want to ask you is what was your first job? And everybody in that's watching, drop in the comments what your first job was. I want to hear this. This is a fun
That's a great
question to
question.
know people.
It is. So you want me to answer that?
Yes, of course. I want to hear what your first job was.
Oh, it's very memorable. So I was probably, 11, maybe 12 years old. And my grandfather worked, he was retired, but he worked part-time in a janitorial. He worked at a company that was a supplier to Ford Motor Company.
Okay.
And he did cleanup. It was a drafting place. He designed cars, and et cetera. And he would go in there and we did janitorial work. So occasionally he'd bring me and my cousin, and we would go in there and we would empty the trash cans and we'd sweep floors. And, the big joy for us was he would give us a couple of quarters. We could go to the vending machine and get a candy bar. And he paid us, I can remember it was $2 an hour. So if we worked, and sometimes we'd work a full weekend, we'd work 16 hours roughly. We'd come home with $30. We were walking on air, but we did that for a couple of years as kids, and I enjoyed that immensely.
That's awesome. Well, the follow-up question to that would be, if it was some job that is even around still to this day, is it a job or a position that people still do? And it very much is. There are a lot of people that still do that line of work. So we have a couple people. So Lotus, her first job was working at her parents' restaurant. Takesha said her first job was working at a summer camp when she was 14. Let's see. Joanna says that her first job, this is a really cool first job. She was 15 and was able to work for an interior designer in downtown Dallas. Okay. Wow. That's a fancy first job. I think my first time ever working, I babysat a lot. I used to do irrigation. So I'm from a farming community in Wyoming. I did irrigation and tree planting for a company, and that was my summer job for a long time. I also was a lifeguard. I did painting, like with a construction crew, and I've done a lot of really interesting things, I would say. So let me see, there's a couple more people. Cashier at Arby's at 16. Oh my gosh, Rollis worked at Palais Royale selling men's clothing. It was his part-time job as a junior and senior in high school in the DECA program. And I think that was DECA was like I don't know what it stands for, but it was like a business group, right? And he found out that one of his classmates was making $1 an hour more than him at Kmart. So he was pretty that's just so cool. What was your first W-2 job? What was your first, I'm big time now job?
Oh, geez. Let me think a second. Oh, sure. I was a busboy
Okay.
at a restaurant, busboy, and then like a bar runner at a restaurant in the little town where I grew up, suburb of Detroit, St. Clair Shores. The restaurant is still there, but it's under a different name now. But I did for a couple of summers, and that was.
I washed dishes at a little restaurant too.
There you go. Yep.
I hated that job. I was a server and bartender in college too. That helped a lot. So it's just interesting to go back and see all the things that you've done. So, and why I asked that is because you've worked in various different industries in your professional life. And I wanted you to share with us which industries or companies would actually surprise job seekers right now who may not know that, their hiring levels are super high or their compensation levels are super high, overall work culture. I guess, can you share with us some of those hidden gem industries that are thriving and hiring right now?
Well, obviously there's your traditional ones, right? There's the industrial and manufacturing sectors that are still doing quite well. I will tell you from personal experience, an industry that flies under the radar, and it's a little bit different, but I worked for a company back in the 90s called Unitog, UNITOG. They were based out of Kansas City.
Okay.
And it was a Latin term for one garment. And what it was the uniform rental industry. And what that included was, so the best way I can describe it is when you go into a gas station, or let's say you're in your local grocery store, and let's use the grocery store example, and you might see the gentleman from Coca-Cola or Pepsi who's stocking the shelves or driving the truck, and he's in that Coke shirt and
okay.
the pants. same thing at a gas station. It was that particular type of industry. So there's a number of companies, very large companies that perform that type of work where they either directly sell the uniforms to a company, or they, in this case, they would rent them. So in which case you provided that each individual 11 sets of clothes.
Oh, wow.
Because 5 days a week, they're going to wear them. There's going to wear the sixth one the day that I'm coming to pick up the five previous that they wore the week before, and then the 5 that I'm delivering. But there's a number of companies out there. It's an industry that has only continued to grow. It's worldwide, and the pay can be quite lucrative and very steady in all aspects of those particular businesses.
Yeah, no, that's actually really interesting, because when I was a server and bartender in college, there was a company similar to that. They didn't do our uniforms, but they did our aprons, and then all the rugs, all like the bar towels. And they basically every night they came and picked them up. They, sanitize and steam clean them, and you bring you fresh stuff.
Same industries, Leah. Yep. Same industries.
It's something that you don't think about, but those are the service industries and the trade type of jobs that you need to run other organizations. And, we've talked about this. We both work in healthcare, or have worked a lot in healthcare talent acquisition. And I focus mostly on clinicians, but for the most part, people that are in healthcare talent acquisition don't just work with clinicians. They work from EVS techs and parking attendants up to, surgical techs, or janitorial service and administrative, your HVAC people. Hospitals and healthcare facilities have incredibly complex electrical systems, HVAC systems, and they have to be certified professionals that work on those. And so there are positions within healthcare industry that don't directly treat patients. And that's something that I think we often overlook. And a lot of those jobs you can get by going through a trade school or a junior college. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because we're shedding light on something that we don't talk about a whole lot. So, okay, I want to ask you, I don't think you've been traveling much this year from what I know, but I know, where is the next place on your travel bucket list, and why? When you get to travel again?
Sure. Well, we had a trip planned. We as a family had a trip planned to go to Ireland and then over to Scotland for about 10 days. And unfortunately, and we had coincided it, myself and one of my sons are big soccer fans, so we were going over to attend also a match for the European Championship. European Championship, which is postponed to next year. But regardless of the soccer matches, that was where we were planning to go. So I would say that's still foremost on my bucket list, is to get back there.
Were you able to postpone it, or did you have to completely cancel the trip? You lost your...
No, we ended up canceling it. We had in 2015, we went back. My family my mother and father were born in Belgium. My wife's side of the family is from England and Scotland. So in 2015, we went back and visited. I still have a lot of family back there. So we went back and my kids met them for the first time. They met my wife for the first time. We also took some side trips to Paris and then to England. So this trip the plan was, well, let's go find mom's side of the family and in England and Scotland. So that was the intent. That's still the intent. We hope to get back there. I don't know if it's going to be next year, but whenever we can travel again, to your point.
That sounds amazing. And everybody that's watching, let me know where your next travel destination is. I want to hear this. I love traveling.
I can't wait to hear some of these.
I love planning traveling. I literally make a spreadsheet every year of what we're going to do, where we're going to go, what we're going to see. So I really want to hear that from everybody that's watching. Thank you so much. And Ross asked, what is the pay range of jobs for electricians, plumbers, and other trades? And thank you so much, Joe, for looking this up for me. She said that electricians in the U.S. make 70,000 plus. So I think that you start as a journeyman and go to a master, and a lot of those positions are very high paying jobs, like we talked about. Takesha says, Don Sonck, how cool that you are a Marvel Comics fan. You want to tell everybody about where you're at right now?
It's actually, I'm not as big as a Marvel Comics fan as my two sons are. My wife and I are two sons. They are huge. I'm actually in my oldest son's room right now because it had the better lighting. I work in a loft upstairs, and I was afraid my dog might be barking or my wife is talking. So I planted myself in here, but his room is like this, as is his brother's. Obviously, they're both away at school, but I don't know how many times Comic-Con is right down the road here in San Diego. They've gone at least 4 or 5 times. So all the stuff that you see behind me, a lot of it was just giveaways that they got at
That's so cool.
yeah. They're very much into it.
Oh, well, that I'm happy that they were able to go. I've heard that it's a really fun time at Comic-Con. So
It's pretty wild. I attended just for like a half day session one time, and I gotta say it's like Halloween on steroids, and plus it's like a combination between like Halloween and Mardi Gras. It's really cool. It's fun.
That's impressive. So so Rollis wants to go back to Jamaica. His wife is from Jamaica, and that is his favorite place to go. Lotus says she wants to go back to Tokyo. She loved it there. It's her happy place. I've never been to Tokyo. That was we were supposed to go to Japan this year, and of course we weren't able to. Disney. Oh, Takesha, you're taking the kids and the family to Disney World. That is so exciting. I can't wait to see pictures of that. I love to travel, like I said, and some of our upcoming trips, we were actually going to take my father-in-law to Europe. We were going to go and stay in London for a couple of days and then take him a couple places where his family comes from in Germany and in Belgium, but we had to cancel that as well. So we're really hoping that in the next year we can take him over. I even had everything planned out for like handicap accessible or handy capable accessible, the easiest itinerary and everything. So hopefully we're able to do that again. Okay, so what individual roles, regardless of industry, do you believe will grow the most in the next 2 years, 2 to 5 years?
Wow. It's still, that's a very broad question, but certainly, software engineers will continue to grow. Anything in tech, quite frankly, is still,
right. It's going to continue to grow. Yeah.
The big wave. So, and it's exciting, obviously, because it's changing all the time. The accelerated development of apps and just technology in general. It's hard to put a finger on any of those particular positions, but I would say, those industries are the ones that really continue to keep an eye on. And I think healthcare too. I still think that, because of the rapid advances in medicine, we're going to continue to see development there, and not just on, let's say, on the clinical side, but on the clinical support side as well, that you were alluding to a little bit earlier.
I agree.
Without a doubt. And
I think that there's also that spot of that the medical technology. I think that is going to grow. And it is growing right now. What do you think will be the biggest upcoming changes to talent acquisition? What do you see that's changing, that's different than we used to do things in the past?
Yeah, I love that question. It's a great one. There's a number of points that immediately come to mind, right? I think we're going to see, and this may sound just pretty generic or maybe minor, but more TA roles that are remote based. I mean, some of them work anyway, but a lot of companies that perhaps had a team on campus or in a building, I think we'll see that be more remote. I certainly see, as a direct result of COVID, remote based positions being very, very desirable from candidates. Yes. And whereas even most recently as pre-COVID, a lot of companies would use that as, let's say, a benefit or a chip to try to secure talent. Now I think it's going to become the norm, right? To where the majority of candidates are just going to assume that most roles, they support roles, they can work remote, and they'll continue to want that. You've probably seen this and heard there's a number of companies for the last couple of years now that have been offering, quote, unlimited vacation.
PTO, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unlimited PTO. So obviously there's some, restrictions to that, but that's flexibility. I think it kind of comes into play with that in terms of job shift and being able to do your job will continue to be a big development. Mm-hmm. And being mobile, I think the gig economy and people in general, especially the younger generation, want to be able to be mobile, and that comes with the remote aspect of it, to be able to pick up and go and work someplace. And I think the last piece, Leah, I think there's more people here too, again, younger generation, that is really interested and excited about working overseas. So I think some of them
Yes.
are looking to work for companies that have a global footprint where they would have an opportunity to go work somewhere for a year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe move there permanently. So those.
Did I tell you, Don, that we are moving to Trinidad and Tobago?
You did not, really?
Oh, so we were actually supposed to move in April. We went down to Trinidad and Tobago in February and did our house hunting and found a house and, viewed my spouse's office, and we did everything, got everything ready to go. And we were packing up and have everything ready, new furniture, all sorts of stuff. And then the pandemic hit and they were like, okay, we can't move you yet. And so all year it's been like, okay, we're going to move you by the end of this month. We're going to move you by the end of this month. Now they're saying it's by the end of the year. So we have a really cool house down there, and we're going to be there for a couple of years. And I'm going to continue working for HR Maximizer, but from Trinidad and Tobago.
Fantastic. So I'm not going to see you on that. What's that show on A&E or something? It's Beach Life, where they get the.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
That is so true. And I think that is going to change in the world of recruiting. I think digital nomads have been pretty popular for quite a while, but it's kind of been those lone wolf kind of people. And stay with me on this one. I mean, it sounds kind of weird, but it's more people who are very entrepreneurial, and they might be doing trading or consulting, and they can do everything from their computer. It's very hard to convince, a large corporation that I can take my job and do it better from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And there's some companies out there right now. I'm not going to name which ones they are because they don't pay me for their sponsorship, but that they will help you convince your company that you need to go work abroad. And it's such an eye-opening experience. And my first job out of college, I am so incredibly lucky. I worked in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in the financial district for an oil and gas company in downtown BA. That was my very first job out of undergrad. And it completely changed my outlook on work, on life. It was such an enriching experience. I had international education experience before that, but I think that the things that I learned in dealing with the day in and day out difficulties of working in a different culture, working in a different language, I think that they've always played to my strengths, and I've been able to, I guess, emulate those skills throughout my work, right? And so
on that, Leah, if I can ask you a question, and because I love what you just outlined, if we can kind of bounce back to the whole college
of course.
thing here too. Let me ask you a question then, based on that. Now, you said you traveled during your undergrad as well?
Yeah, I did. I did study abroad. So I did 3 actually.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. So do you think you would have taken that job in BA had you not traveled abroad with a study? Understood. There you go. That's the point I was getting to.
I'm from a town. I know this. I'm from a town of like 3,500 people. I am from the middle of absolute nowhere in Wyoming. And it broadened my horizons. And I was super thankful. We were really lucky. I had some scholarships to go. Even in high school, I went to Costa Rica and to Europe, and I was able to travel and do all of these things. And it lit a fire in me. I love like the international culture. I love learning new things. I love languages. And I think that if I wouldn't have had those opportunities, I would have been very hesitant to take a job like that, even to apply for a job like that. So I think that taking advantage of those seemingly very different type of programs, I think is something that people should definitely look into.
And go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
There is a massive conversation happening in our comments right now between a couple people. So they're back on like the travel question, and they were talking about food and how the food in Japan is like amazing. I will say the food in Singapore, unreal. I would go back to Singapore just to eat the food. They just went back and forth about the food. And Rolla says, I know a place that has unlimited PTO after 5 years. And I can attest to that. I have worked for Ascend HR Maximizer for 6 years. And I also have unlimited PTO. So I frequently travel and work or take days off, and we can be 100% remote too. And everybody's just going back and forth. So I didn't want to ignore them. They're having a hilarious conversation about everything that's going on. But back to what we were talking about. Sorry about that, Don.
No, not at
Um,
all.
so something back to TA. This is something that I asked my guest last week, and I think it's a really important question to ask people who are in TA. For the job seekers out there, from your perspective, what is your resume pet peeve? What do you hate seeing on resumes?
If there's too much, I think the best, it's not, I don't think it's so much that it's what I see, it's what I don't see.
Okay.
And that is, I need to see accomplishments in that resume. It's fine to say that you had responsibility for this or responsibility for that, or you worked on this, but, and I know I'm speaking not just for myself, but also for hiring managers, particularly, higher ranking hiring managers. And that is, what have you done that helped either my top line or helped my bottom line? And if you can quantify that for me in a bullet or two, that's going to get my attention. So, and it's going to set that candidate apart as opposed to, yeah, I worked here for X amount of years. These are my roles, responsibilities, et cetera. And I won like this award. And that's not to downgrade that by any means. But if you can quantify some top line and bottom line accomplishments and how you really contributed something to your previous employers, that's what I look for. And I know a lot of hiring managers look for as well.
Well, that's funny, because my next question was, what do you always want to see on a resume? Is there anything else that you're like, I love seeing this. I love when people express this type of skill or anything. Is there anything additional for a resume that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I look for maybe not even, well, rewards and recognition is certainly helpful as well within their companies. But personally, I also look at what their hobbies or what their what they do with their personal time. I mean,
like you look at the whole person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because when I interview and when I used to interview a lot more, it's more of a conversation, especially the first interview. I'm trying to get a feel for that person, both personally and professionally, because really the first thing I'm looking for is culture. Is that person going to be a fit? So when I'm looking at a resume or I'm looking on LinkedIn, which is essentially a byproduct of the resume, that's what I'm looking for. I want to. It's great that I can see these personal accomplishments and say that, yeah, this woman is a winner. This is someone I want to talk to. But what does she do to unplug? Because if she has this drive, there's got to be something that she does, I would hope, to unplug. And even if that's not there, let's say a hobby or something like that, that's something that I'm going to want to discuss and find out for myself and for the benefit of my employer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have not too many resume pet peeves. One of the things that Rawlis just said, and I agree with this, is when you get a resume and it's not customized, you can easily tell that they've used it for like 12 other things. It's not customized to the position whatsoever.
Yeah.
So one of the keys there, what I would tell to any job seekers, is have an open form resume on your computer and change it per job that you apply for, and then save it as that company resume, your name, and send an actual customized. It takes literally less than 2 minutes to do. And it shows that you have attention to detail, that you have intention to apply for this position, that you're not just what we call spray and pray or post and pray. Takesha just said for in healthcare, and especially RNs, not including all of their experience. So that's very important in certain careers, especially in clinical settings. We need to see all the experience you've had. Last week, Lisa Taylor was telling us she works with a lot of international candidates, and it's very common on a CV to see your earliest experience at the top and then work to what you're doing now, which we don't usually see in the United States, but I have seen that by some younger applicants. We always want to start with what you're doing presently and reverse chronological order. That's something for me. So anybody else in the comments, can you let me know what you, especially if you're in talent acquisition, what you like to see on resumes, what really bothers you on resumes? I've done a ton of resume workshops. I've watched tons of YouTube and different quote unquote experts and whatnot, but it's always interesting to see what other people like or dislike. And Rawlis says he likes your point, Dawn, and he likes seeing those things too about quantifying. Outside interests are always a good indicator. Would you also say that you need to see experience or relevance first before looking at any outside interests? Or do you still review it without experience or relevance? That question is for
What's for me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you still look for relevance and experience, no question about that. I mean that comes part and parcel with the quantifying, etc. But I still kind of look for the quantifying aspect. Again, the top line, bottom line, quantifying. Even if this person's experiences doesn't exactly dovetail into either this particular role and or industry, because if it's something that seems really out of the ordinary or is a major accomplishment in terms of the amount of dollars involved, that tells me this person's is a bit of an innovator and can probably bring that same type of thinking to my company that will translate into something similar. So experience is still important and very relevant the majority of the occasions, but certainly again, having an innovative mind or something that will transfer over can sometimes supersede that.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that. That definitely makes sense. Takesha just said, in an effort to prevent bias, please remove pictures from your resumes. That is a very popular thing with your more international clientele, more of the CV style where they have birth dates, marital status. In the US, we do not take any of that into account when hiring. So I agree. Thank you, Takesha, for pointing that out. Nicole Laying, I think. Hi, Nicole. This is the first time I've seen you on this, so welcome. I'm so happy you're here. And she says, what do you guys think about LinkedIn Easy Apply? Where do those resumes go? So I can let you answer first. I have an opinion on the LinkedIn. So you go ahead, Dawn.
I haven't, I got to be honest, I haven't really used it. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't really used it, Leah. So I'll defer to you.
So I love LinkedIn Easy Apply. I love Easy Apply anywhere. I think that organizations make it too difficult for individuals to apply or express interest in jobs. And I think that could be because recruiters got overwhelmed and they had too many applicants to deal with. But with the amount of amazing talent acquisition technology that we currently have, there is no reason to have such a high barrier to entry for somebody to simply apply for a job. Now, I understand there are EEOC requirements, but you can gather that information very easily in a quick apply. I am a big proponent of applying in 5 minutes or less. Most of our clients, we get them to a 3 minute or less. And what we do is we move them through the process. And at some point, they probably are going to have to fill out the very long, more legal document, the full application within the system. But if somebody just wants to express their interest in your position by having that, click here, go to my website, go to the page, create a login, that takes time. And we know that you lose a massive, like over 70% of your candidates, you're going to lose at that firewall or that stage of that high wall of entry. So I am a huge proponent of it. Now, where do those resumes go? So if you're applying a quick apply on LinkedIn, that means that organization has somebody with a LinkedIn recruiter account, and they have a back end page on their LinkedIn that lists everybody that has shown interest in a job, everybody that has applied for those jobs. Some of them are integrated directly with your ATS system, and some of them aren't. They have to pull those out and put them in manually. But I will say those resumes do get looked at for sure. You have a recruiter on the back end that they are paying for that service. So you can be sure that when you apply via LinkedIn, it is being seen. It might not feel like it, but it is. So yes, 100%. I love quick apply. Sorry, and I'm done with my end of rant. Okay, and she says, "Oh, hi Nicole, you're so welcome." And she says, "Are we still to customize every resume? I thought the point was to use your resume on LinkedIn account to make it easy." Good point. So when you're applying via LinkedIn, no, you don't have to. And some of them don't even require you to put your resume. You can just say apply with LinkedIn because that's basically your virtual resume, right?
Yep.
Those ones will not count for the EEOC credit profile because you're not gathering all of the information. So those are more of like I raised my hand and showed interest in this position. Those are great. If if you're applying via LinkedIn, no, I don't think that you have to. I would make it more generalized. But if you're applying directly on an organization's website, if that's how they have you applying, then you do need to probably take the time to say, this is RN manager or shift supervisor or whatever it is. That's my point of view. So what would you say about that? Are you a big proponent of customizing resumes, or do you like having just a more overall generalized resume?
I like a customized resume personally. I do. I think it shows a couple of things. Certainly, it brings more relevance to the role that they're asking for. I think it also shows that person's taking a little bit more time and a little bit more interest in this particular position. To your point, doesn't make me think that person is spraying and praying. And ideally, the really good ones might have a little line or two in their resume then, and that's even more customized to say that here's why I think me working for ABC company is relevant based on my previous experience. And they may mention something particular about that company, which again tells me that they've done a little bit of homework and have a sincere desire and interest to join the organization.
Yeah, and Nicole, and for everybody else watching, I think that it really depends on the type of position you're applying for. If you're applying for a high level role, director level, you're going to put a lot of time into that, and your resume is going to be, pretty substantial. Your cover letter, if they request one, you need to do the work on that end. If you truly want the position, I would say take some of the keywords out of the job posting, because some ATSs run it through a word search.
Right.
Our ATS does not do that. I do not turn that function on. I like to look at every single resume. But I will tell you, I can go through a resume very quickly and tell if it is just slapped together. They don't have any I like to see, like Dawn does, when you quantify some of your success, when you list not just your job responsibilities, but what you actually did, what you actually accomplished. I love seeing that. So it is going to be different for every recruiter. I could probably talk to 100 people in talent acquisition and we probably get 50 different responses. It's kind of a personal preference, but for the majority of people in talent acquisition, I think a big part of it is just don't waste their time, because they're going through, for one position, they might have anywhere from 100 to 1,000 applications. So do something, customize it, stand out, show that you actually read the job description, that you are serious about it. And I think that is the level where you'll start getting callbacks for sure. So let's ask some fun questions, if you don't mind.
Here we go.
Okay. Well, just a couple.
Yeah, cool. Totally
okay.
Cool.
I know. I thought you were kind of like, oh, no.
No, I enjoy these. Go ahead.
Okay. So what is the phone application or app that you use the most?
I can't really answer that one. I'm more on the sales side than I am on the hiring side. So I don't really use
your personal life.
Oh, just at my personal phone? Yeah, oh, geez. Oh gosh, probably.
Like my mom is for sure Facebook. She's on it. Like she comments on everything.
Oh, gotcha. Probably. Well, let's see. When I run my rotation in the morning, it's usually I read because I like international soccer, so it's probably The Guardian, and I like international news. So that's out of London. It's like it's kind of like a Wall Street Journal / National Enquirer combined, but that's probably my go-to.
That is what The Guardian is, 100%.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep.
I read the news every morning. I look at Instagram a lot. My niece has really got me into TikTok, and I watch it, and I don't know what to do. I use LinkedIn on my phone a lot. But in the comments, let me know what your favorite phone apps are. I found a couple of really cool new phone apps by people giving me suggestions. It's something that I like to ask. So then, Dawn, how do you deal with stress, like work stress? What do you do to de-stress?
Well, I live not far from the beach. So what's very therapeutic for me is just going down there. I like to do a little bit of surf fishing or just throw a chair on the beach. And when the weather's nice, I like to body surf a little bit, but I also just do a lot of walking now too with COVID. In the evening, I need to do more of it, quite frankly, but I find just going for like a 30-minute walk very helpful. But I got to say the beach just really that really just kind of takes me away, it's very detoxifying. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, if I lived by the beach, I would do the same thing. Patty Witt just said about, so the resume thing, she said she saw somewhere that you should take the entire job description from the job description, copy and paste it into the bottom of your resume in super small font and make it white, then convert it to PDF so it can't be seen. And then when it's uploaded into the ATS, then when they do the word search, it's in there. I have also heard that as well, Patty. I don't know which systems specifically or ATS systems that works with. I know it wouldn't work with mine because I don't turn on those keyword searches, but I could see how it would work. That's pretty
interesting.
It's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So, she says she hasn't ever done that though. She's just
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, I haven't done it. Yeah. Patty says she loves Pinterest. Kendra says she uses YouTube the most. Patty says she loves that digital hoarding lifestyle of Pinterest, and I do too. I use it all the time. I use Google Keep now on my desktop, which I love. So in that same line of thinking, I am like I'm very much into HR tech, and I love like a software enthusiast, and I really enjoy user-friendly software, user-friendly web spaces. And so I'm always curious about what other people in this, in recruiting and talent acquisition, what they're using. So are there any other HR or TA technology that you enjoy using?
Me personally, I'm on the sales side, Leah. So
I know you just switched it. And
yeah.
For those of you watching, so Don used to be doing RPO, so recruitment process outsourcing, and he worked for very large organizations doing huge projects, doing recruiting. And so now he just switched because he's so good at his job. He's now selling that service to other people.
So yeah, a little different perspective for me now, right, especially with the technology there. But I know on the selling side, and maybe it's somewhat applicable as well. But I mean, LinkedIn is a godsend for me in terms of finding, finding the right people, organizations, etc. Zoom Info also is another tool. Yeah.
What is that?
You've never heard of Zoom Info?
Like, it's not like the Zoom as in Zoom Info. No. Tell me more. It's a B2B database.
Bingo. Yep.
Okay. I use a database called Seamless AI, and it's like and I really like that. But I'm gonna have to check this out. So this is sales, marketing, enterprise. Oh wow. This is a
it's cool,
impressive system. Okay. I like that. Thank you. You taught me something new today. Anybody else out there, please let me know what your favorite HR tech is, what your favorite software is, even if it's not in HR, what you're using that makes your job easier every day. I love learning about it. I just started using this new software. I'll tell everybody about it. It's called Loom, Loom. So I make a lot of videos for people I work with. Tutorials, that kind of stuff. And I used to use like the QuickTime Player, upload it or download it, then upload it to like Google Drive. Loom does it on a cloud basis, and it is instantaneous. It is super fast. It hosts your video. So I could make you a video right now, Dawn, of like, here, this is how you do this, this, and this on LinkedIn. Finish recording and instantaneously send you the link. I would send you the link. You would click it and you could watch me give you your tutorial on LinkedIn. It is amazing. I love it. That's something that I just learned. So for everyone out there, check that out. I'm going to check the comments to see if anybody has any other software information for us. Takesha says she uses Instagram and Facebook the most. Joanna says Pinterest for sure. Rala says LinkedIn, then Instagram outside of email and text. So we only have a couple of minutes left, and let me go back to my other notes. I wanted to ask you about two parts of about your job, and what has been your favorite thing about being in talent acquisition?
The people aspect of it, just talking with both candidates as well as prospective clients. I love looking. That's again why I love looking looking at LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. At someone's bio, on paper or digitally, obviously, and then actually speaking to them. I always find it ironic how, you picture somebody or how they might be looking at their CV or looking at their profile on LinkedIn, and then you talk to that person and he or she is
totally different.
Yeah. Very, 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 that's what I love more than most. I love the people interaction.
I'm often like pleasantly surprised. I'm like,
Same.
that person is so awesome. I mean, they come across really great on paper or LinkedIn, but man, they're just great. They're great people. And I love that part of talent acquisition as well. It's a very special part.
Yep.
So in your typical work day, what is your absolute favorite part of the work day?
It's actually, again, connecting with either in some cases previously candidates, but then also now with clients as well, or prospective clients. Being able, because I do a lot of research, obviously, before I go and I make a call, or I send an email, or I send a LinkedIn message. I do a lot of homework in terms of like, okay, what might make this person respond to me, or what might make this person return my phone call. I love doing it, love getting either somebody live who picks up the phone call, or getting an email back or a phone call back from something that I had planned, and hope that even if that person says, hey, I'm not the right person, Don, but you might want to try talking to so-and-so. That's what I find really rewarding. I love the research and everything. That's fun to learn about companies and how they operate, and what might be that gap that I can fill with from Kelly's perspective. But when I can actually talk to that person and then start doing some probing and see if there's a fit, that's super rewarding for me. That's the most fun part of the day for me.
So it's all the connections. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is the interaction. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. So to end out today, I'm a big reader, and I wanted to know if you have any book recommendations for myself or for the audience.
Book recommendations? Boy,
or I haven't podcasts. A lot of people are very into podcasts as well.
Yeah, I'm not really into either anymore. I don't have the attention span. My wife will attest to that. I read a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. There's a lot of good blurb on LinkedIn when you first log on. And so, like what's happening, what's in the news. I read a lot of stuff there. And then I still have a subscription, a digital subscription to the Wall Street Journal, and God knows I can't necessarily get through all of that. But same thing, they have real nice, concise updates or brief summaries of what's in the news. And then you have the option. If you want to learn more, you click on them and off you go. So those are the two. And what I like about both of those is I have my sports that I love, and my travel, and my history, which are hobbies. But when it comes to business, first and foremost, those are the two that I really go by. And I find them extremely helpful.
Yeah, that's okay. I read a lot of articles too. I read a lot of news articles every day, but I also read a lot of books. So if anybody has any recommendations can you guys hear my dogs barking? I told them to be quiet until 3 p.m. and they just knew.
Minute to spare.
Yeah, a minute to spare. If you have any recommendations, please pop them in the comment section. And then for anybody that's watching this on replay, please do feel free to leave messages and comments. You can tag myself or Dawn in them, and we can always come back in to this actual broadcast. It'll be hosted on LinkedIn in perpetuity, I believe. I don't know. But we can come back in and chat with you if you have any specific questions. Both Dawn and I can go through here and engage and interact with any of your questions. And I just want to thank you so much today, Dawn, for your time. I think that you have such an interesting perspective on talent acquisition as a whole. And I really liked hearing about your experiences and your thoughts on where talent acquisition is going and how it's changing.
Well, thanks, Leah. It's been a pleasure, and I love how you mix things up between personal and professional and fun questions and stuff. This has gone very quickly.
I know it does go really quick, and I see that a couple more questions just came in, but I do want to stick to our timeline. So what I'll do is after this video uploads completely to LinkedIn, I guess, I can go back in there and I'll answer some of those questions. So you'll see me in the comments here soon. And then Rollis just said, would you like an applause? And I think, yes, we would love an applause, please. So I don't know how this happens. He gets these off of like a...
Is this from Jerry Springer, maybe?
It looked like they were at a game or something.
A game show, yeah.
We give Rollis such a hard time. He has so much fun with these. So But thank you to both Joanna and Rollis. They do the back end production of these shows. And I am so thankful that we had you as our guest today, Dawn. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us.
My pleasure. And thanks again, Leah. Thanks everybody. Been fun.
Right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So Dawn, if you just hang on for just a second.
Yep.
And we'll just, so we can do like one where we'll just kind of smile, like just look at the camera and smile. And then you can like do one where you're waving bye-bye. And that should be, okay, so Rollis just has to run it for a couple of minutes until, because it's like, or I'm sorry, just 1 minute until it's
delayed.
It's delayed, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can log off. But I think, yeah, that went really good.
That was terrific.
Yeah. If it's hard because you want to include the